They were not supposed to fight. They were starving. They were outnumbered. They had almost no ammunition. And yet, on April 19th, 1943, inside the sealed ruins of the Warsaw Ghetto, Jewish resistance fighters opened fire on the German army. For the first time since the ghettos were built, the hunted became the hunters. This was not a battle for victory. This was a battle for meaning. By 1943, the Warsaw Ghetto was no longer a prison. It was a waiting room for death. Nearly 450,000 Jews had been forced behind its walls. Starvation, disease, deportations, all deliberate. In the summer of 1942, mass transports began. Treblinka. Each day, thousands vanished. German officials called it resettlement. But inside the ghetto, the truth became impossible to ignore. Resettlement meant extermination. And once that became clear, something shifted. Hope no longer meant survival. It meant resistance. Small underground groups began forming. They had almost nothing. A few smuggled pistols, homemade grenades, Molotov cocktails, stolen rifles, and courage beyond calculation. The Jewish Combat Organization, ZOB, and other groups began planning. Not to win, to resist. They studied the narrow streets, mapped rooftops, built bunkers beneath buildings, stockpiled scraps of ammunition like treasure. They knew the Germans would return. They just didn't know when. Then, April 19th, 1943. On the eve of Passover, German SS forces entered the ghetto, expecting a routine liquidation. Instead, they were met with gunfire. From windows, from rooftops, from sewer grates. German troops retreated in shock. For days, resistance fighters moved through a maze the occupiers barely understood. The ghetto became a battlefield of shadows. This was not military strength. This was psychological shock. The occupiers had assumed submission, but they found defiance. The Germans responded with overwhelming force. Artillery, flamethrowers, systematic building-to-building destruction. They stopped trying to take the ghetto. They decided to burn it. Block by block, Warsaw's Jewish district was set on fire. Smoke filled the streets. Families suffocated inside bunkers. Resistance fighters continued shooting from the ruins. The uprising lasted nearly a month. Not because it could succeed, but because it refused to end. On May 16, 1943, SS General Jürgen Stroop declared the ghetto destroyed. He blew up the Great Synagogue as a symbol. His report concluded with the words, "The Jewish quarter of Warsaw is no more." But he was wrong. Militarily, the uprising did not alter the outcome of the war. But psychologically, it shattered a narrative. The Nazis had built their genocide on the assumption of inevitability. The Warsaw Ghetto Uprising proved something radical. Even in a sealed city, even without allies, even without hope of survival, people could choose resistance. And that choice would echo. Across occupied Europe, underground movements took note. Across history, the image endured. Young fighters, homemade weapons, facing an empire, not to win, to be remembered. When the war ended, the ruins of the ghetto remained. Beneath the rubble, bunkers were discovered. Inside them, weapons, letters, diaries. Proof that this was never chaos. It was deliberate. Weaponized hope.